Hello everyone, welcome back to just another F1 podcast here on the Apex Motorsport. My name is Richard Smyth and we've just had the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. And joining me today to discuss it all is of course Ryan. Ryan, welcome back to the podcast, and you should be expecting this by now, your 3-word race review.
Oh!
You forgot about it again.
I always forget about this, you always hit me on the spot. Let's see. See, now you can see my thought process is happening instead of watching it back.
Yeah.
Right, let's see. Bouncy. We'll go with bouncy.
Okay.
Domination and reliability.
Okay.
That's a good sum up.
Yeah, I think the start for that reliability, it's obviously something that's been talked about a lot this season, and it's something we discuss as a potential pivotal point in the championship. Ferrari didn't have the best weekends in terms of reliability. Both their works cars going out, and then they had 2 customer cars going out, although I believe Guan Yu Zhou's was a cooling issue, so it wasn't directly linked to the Ferrari power unit. But do you think that this is really ground loss for Ferrari when they're trying to push Red Bull all the way for the championship?
Oh yeah, definitely 100%. You think about it, they've had now, is it 3 or 4 DNFs for Charles Leclerc, where that's races he could have actually won. And then Max, every race he hasn't DNF'd, he's won. So it sort of puts that balance. And the 3 races that he has DNF'd, he's actually managed to gain more points because Leclerc has either lost out in those same races that he's either won. And overall he's a race ahead now. So Ferrari are essentially just handing this championship to Red Bull in terms of constructors as well as the drivers. You know, Leclerc theoretically was poster boy to win this championship based off the first couple of races of the season, and then everything's just went straight down the hill ever since. So it's difficult, especially them as a customer or an engine supplier for the customer teams such as the Haas and obviously the Alfa Romeos. They're now thinking, well, if we've got these long straights and that's over a prolonged time, so as we've seen in Azerbaijan, it is a long straight and there's a lot of overtaking spots, DRS, 2 DRS zones, it's just so it's all high power, and I think it's too much stress on their engines. They're really quick around shorter circuits where the cornering is better for them. They seem to be able to corner quicker than the Red Bulls, but the Red Bulls have the more straight line speed, which is where the advantage was. However, they did pit pole, have to be said, like I did a pole. But reliability is probably going to be a big concern now, because if we jump back really to the start of the season when Red Bull didn't exactly kick off with a good start, Christian Horner did infamously say he'd rather have a unreliable car that's fast than have a slow car that's reliable. So they did have an unreliable fast car. They've now fixed the reliability and now they're fast, whereas Ferrari had a fast car as well. However, its unreliability didn't seem to show. They seem to have a good car, but it's not exactly falling into the right places. It's like a children's game where they're trying to put the triangle into the circle and it's just not going. You know?
Yeah, Ferrari did have this reliable and fast car at the start of the season. He said, and Red Bull had a fast and unreliable car, where Ferrari, it just seemed to be Ferrari had perfected everything and they were going to run away with this championship, and it's completely flipped on his head now. Do you think for Charles Leclerc, he's a race behind effectively, because Verstappen he didn't take maximum points, he only took 25, but that's still 25 more points than what Leclerc got. Do you think that Leclerc is going to have to push a little bit harder and to close the gap, and there might be a few more mistakes that we've seen from Leclerc in the past, because he's been good this year. Past few seasons he's had a car that maybe wasn't championship worthy, but there's a few mistakes that you think may come back up, or do you think that he's got more experience so they'll be ironed out over the past few years?
I think in terms of Charles, he's going to have his head screwed on. He's going to be nailed in tight. I don't think there's going to be too many things that's going to phase him now that he hasn't phased already in his first 3 years now, it would be. Yeah, 3.
Yeah, third year. Yeah,
fourth, is it not? 1 Sauber, 2 Ferrari, and this is his 3rd, is it not? This would be his 4th season.
Yes, 4th season. It's 4th season with Ferrari.
Yeah, 3rd with Ferrari, 4th season. That's pretty much a competent, how would you put it? Not rookie, but was a rookie whenever we really started getting into this. But he's now a solid driver, probably one of the better drivers,
Yeah.
shall we say, on the grid at the moment. Those mistakes are rookie errors that have been ironed out. Mistakes that we see that aren't being ironed out is coming from Carlos Sainz. Seem to be spinning and making silly mistakes in the first few laps, as well as obviously for reliability. He's having an awful season. He's having the Bottas curse. The top team, first driver flying, second driver unreliable, unlucky. He's got the Bottas curse. Bottas now number one driver. Doesn't seem to have too many problems at all. But no, I think for Leclerc, he's going to have a mentality of, right, I'm behind. I really need to just focus on my track walks, ensuring I can get every last inch of tarmac touching my car and leave no gap untouched, so he can claim those poles, put the best performance in, and hope that the team picks up the pieces in terms of reliability to deliver him the package to win.
Picking up on the Carlos Sainz point, it does appear that he's been struggling this season. I think last year he really took the battle to Leclerc, and I think arguably was the better of the two drivers over the course of last season. But this year Leclerc definitely appears to be the better driver. But looking at Sainz's finishes this season, 2 podiums in the opening 2 races, and then he finished third in Miami as well, alongside second Monaco. He's actually only finished 1 race outside the podium places, which is impressive, but he has had 3 retirements now. So that's something that may cost him. He's 5th in the championship. He finished 5th last season, but he's in that top 4 battle. The top 2 battles really between Red Bull and Ferrari. So you would expect that he should be in that top 4 when he's not. So I think for Sainz, his results are good. His performances might just not be of the standard that we expect, but you could argue he's delivering. When he has failed to finish, it's been down to reliability, which isn't, he's the one that's getting paid to drive the car, it's not the one to make the car. So he could argue that case, but we'll move on to Red Bull now. They obviously had a fantastic weekend. First and second, arguably helped with both Ferrari's DNFing. They have had this major swing. We've already touched on how Verstappen's got this effectively a race advantage now over Leclerc, but from the team's point of view, do you think that Red Bull, we've seen the past, it's been a long time since we've seen Red Bull really dominate a championship. Do you think that the lack of having that for a few years is going to come back to bite them and be a few, not rookie errors, but a few mistakes between now and the end of the season, which may throw it back to Ferrari?
I can't see it. They threw away too much last season. We seen they started off last season even though it was a carryover car, Mercedes pretty much had an equal package to what they had, just slightly a wee bit more performance, where Red Bull just went, you know what, yeah, we're building a RB Powertrains business or a company for new engines for ourselves and obviously for AlphaTauri. We're focusing on that, we're focusing on the development of next year, but we're also, we put development into this car for this season. Obviously I'm talking about last season, and they started off so strong, but you could tell the point when they stopped really developing that car to focus on this year. And we've seen how this year it has paid off in a sense, because we see Max and Sergio first and second here. Max on 150 points and Sergio on 129 points. That's just their own points, and Leclerc's only at 116. That time at the breaking off last season, it nearly did come to bite them in the back, because as we seen, literally they were on equal points, Hamilton and Verstappen, the person who won the last race, controversially. That happened. So if they didn't let off the guard so much and maybe put just a wee bit more time in their car, I'd say they could have had an extra maybe a 10-point gap between Hamilton at the time. And obviously Max not being overly aggressive and actually had finished a couple of races instead of Hamilton and him wiping each other out, we would have seen a different battle. But I think Christian Horner, he's definitely focusing too much. He's definitely going, right, this is the season where we get our title back, where Red Bull get their name on that Constructors' Trophy and another Drivers' Trophy. Which driver it's going to be, unsure. As I look here now, there's 21 points between Max and Sergio. That's not a lot.
No.
That's one race DNF for Max and Sergio winning. And that'll be the first Mexican to ever lead a World Drivers' Championship. Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy.
I think the Azerbaijan Grand Prix, I think, showed me Perez is... I've always known he's a fantastic driver, but there's some feeling about Perez now that he's just as good as Verstappen at times.
If not better.
Yeah, because he's got this experience of racing multiple different cars through multiple different regulation changes. His tyre management is one of the best out there.
Yeah.
And he seems to have found more ease with his car, where Verstappen seems to be struggling. It's a bit like, Mercedes. Russell seems to have got easier in Hamilton. That could be down to these drivers pushing so hard last year to get the most out of the machinery. But Perez, he's proven Red Bull right with the decision. I know there's been times that people have thought, I know we said it as well, that Gasly deserves a shot at that seat. But Perez has done everything to keep that seat, and he's got 2 year. I believe it's a 2 year deal. It's at least 1 year. I think it's a 2 year contract, which for him is a big reward for his performances so far this season.
Avoided the Red Bull curse.
Yeah.
For a new driver. And
that's the one thing that they needed a driver like Perez to come in to break, non-Red Bull.
And I think driver. he was for going out too. Mm-hmm. He was for jumping ship. That would have been awful. Imagine nobody picked him up. What a talent. Unreal.
Yeah, I still think there's still something that feels weird with Perez being a Red Bull, because we sort of...
In my head, every time I see him now, I just picture the Mexican Bull. That is what I call him now, the Mexican Bull. The only reason I see that is because whenever it was time to announce sort of Sergio Perez as the new Red Bull driver, it was pretty much everyone knew it was going to happen. It was Red Bull Mexico that tweeted first, some exciting news coming, and everyone knew. Yeah. So now, all of a sudden, every time I think of Sergio Perez, see him on the podium wearing Red Bull, I just think that's the Mexican Bull. Yeah. That's also in my head, and I can't stop thinking about it. It is funny to me, but he's on another level. He's taking Max's aggression and using it against him, because Max is aggressive, fights the car. Perez is more gentle with the car, but still somehow manages to hit the apexes just at the same time, or if not faster than Max in certain places. Monaco, he was all over that circuit. Mm-hmm. He was all over it. And then Verstappen was just fighting the car the way he normally would, because he's an aggressive driver, but he couldn't get the same performance. I was like, what is going on? Is Perez going to win the next title?
It's a strong possibility.
I'm hoping.
Yep. I think videos and podcasts last year, before that, all the videos, I think we said Perez has a genuine chance of winning the World Championship. That was for last season.
Yeah.
He started off well, but this year it could be possible, and he's definitely looked strong. But move on to Mercedes now, and partly Ferrari as well. The porpoising issue. Toto Wolff said after the race that Lewis Hamilton might not compete in Canada the next race. Lewis Hamilton's come out and said he will be there, but he's in a lot of pain. This porpoising it looks awful. I've seen the onboard footage. It looks dreadful. It's like driving down a road full of potholes. That's what it's like.
At about 130 miles an hour. And a road car, never mind an F1 car.
Yeah, it's awful, and your head's bouncing all over the place.
It's crazy.
I think the ride height's issue, and I think I've read something today that a lot of the teams and drivers have come out and said, or agreed that yes, this needs to be changed. Where Christian Horner said they're sort of making half of this up. It's not as bad as it is.
He's coming off the view, which I sort of actually kind of agree with. It's not so much an FIA problem, it is a Mercedes problem overall, because everyone else has a little bit of porpoising. Yeah. Obviously, at this track where it is, if you've got a higher downforce and a lower centre of gravity, so you're lower to the ground and you run all your air down, it is going to affect it more, obviously, as they lift and balance with each other, and can't mind what that word is. Oscillate, is it? When they go one above the other. That's the sort of fancy word of today. Yes. But when you take that, and the rest of the teams aren't saying it's that bad at every other circuit, that's one of a few circuits where there's quite long straights. Obviously Canada has a really good long straight coming up now. So are we going to see that again? If so, that's more discomfort. But every other team seems to have, when this happened, they've lifted the ride height a bit. And if you look, it was Karun Chandok actually showed it too, and he was showing it. Every other car is, say, here's the ground, and here we'll go, say, Red Bull. McLaren is about here, a wee bit higher. Mercedes is down here. But Mercedes is down here. They've sacrificed comfort for speed. If they knock that back, they become a very, very midfield team. You know, raising the height. Obviously, it'll offset their downforce and all their aero packages that they've sort of built towards. So, do they sacrifice a bit more performance for comfort and figure it out? I think, honestly, their biggest mistake was not sticking with a side-potted car, because I don't think they had these problems with a side-potted car. Everyone else did, but they were able to rectify them so quickly. You know, and maybe not as high-speed, long, straight tracks, but because everyone felt it, even McLaren's, who undoubtedly has pretty much the best defence against porpoising, as you could say. Even Daniel Ricciardo was saying, yeah, I understand the pain that these guys are in, so I can't imagine what it's like for Mercedes. But back to the point, I think it is a Mercedes problem, because they have an opportunity to raise the car and see what it's like, but they don't want to do it during a race weekend. And they can't obviously use one of their filming days to do that, because that's a waste of a day. So it's one of those tricky ones for them.
Yeah, and it is obviously a potential safety concern as well. And I think Russell's come out and said that, you know, there's going to be a big accident because of us. So I feel like with both him and Hamilton being so open with, yeah, this is sore, this is affecting us, the team might just bite the bullet and go, well, driver safety is a priority. But then again, Mercedes are thinking, well, this is the difference between finishing third and fifth in the championship. So it depends what their priorities are. But you can't have a driver at the end of the season who's needing surgery in his back because there's that much damage done to it, and then miss all pre-season testing the first few races of the season. It's not worth it. It's not worth putting drivers' health at risk for the sake of finishing a potential shot at the podium.
Just stick a couple of springs underneath the seats, so that this, you know, sprung and unsprung mass as the car's going down, the springs are compressing, and they just they bounce each other out at high speeds. Then, you know, very little difference, you know. So instead of him bouncing with the car, he's bouncing to the opposite of the car, so he's actually sitting straight, almost like a gimbal, you know. Put him on a gimbal. Come on, Mercedes, figure out how to make a lightweight gimbal under 3 kilos. Sorted. There you go.
Could be revolutionary in the world of Formula 1.
Yeah.
It's like putting the fan in the back of the car. That was a big change. This could be the next.
It's like whenever you see GoPro footage of motorbike riders leaning in the corners and the camera just sits nice and still. You know, stick the drivers on the gimbal, so whenever they're turning the corner, they're sitting like this here, and you know everything's nice and smooth. You know, that'd be quite cool. It'd be interesting to actually see if something like that could happen. Yeah. Not that it ever will, but it'd be interesting if someone did attempt something like that, putting a gimbal sort of feature inside a car. That'd be interesting.
Yeah, it would be. From revolutionary designs to the old faithful duct tape.
Yes.
Yuki Tsunoda's rear wing decided to split in half. So it was Alpha, and when it was in DRS, or it was Alpha Tauri, then when I went to DRS, it was just Alpha.
Yeah, they were trying to imitate another team here.
Yeah, they put duct tape. Paul di Resta was very much calm, we're not allowed to do this. It was for reliability. Yuki Tsunoda was told not to use DRS. Do you think they should have been allowed, or do you think it was just salvaging what they can? Because we've seen teams duct tape. British GT happens all the time.
Oh yeah, but that's the standard.
Same as endurance. So should it be allowed in Formula 1? Is there something that's so dangerous about duct tape that shouldn't be allowed? Given that they weren't even going to use DRS, so it wasn't to help DRS open and close.
The way I see it is, you look at the likes of, say, the British GT and other aspects, the outside of the car usually just tends to be plastic. 9 times out of 10 it's not real body panels, most of it. Obviously your main chassis is going to be main body, but most of it's like a shell almost over it. So when that stuff breaks off, it's literally just a matter of sticking it on both sides, slap, job's good, and as long as it's held and as long as it's covering whatever needs to be covered, it's good. F1's is a wee bit different because everything's carbon fibre on the exterior pretty much, and as we know, carbon fibre, when it comes off, it can shatter. It's very brittle. It is high tensile strength, but it's very brittle. And if it came off, say a bit did come off his wing, or even the DRS actuator, because you've seen that the actual handle, so obviously it goes in and out, but the rod that connects to the flap, so as it's going in to open and close, the rod that connects it was actually flapping about. If you watch carefully, it was flapping about at times, because I did notice it myself, and I was like, if that there little piece of metal came off, because we don't use the IndyCar type, which was a Red Bull, they actually put that forward, which I'm surprised never actually took off with the aero screen, as well as integrating the halo and an aero screen. I think that would have caused too much drag, that's why they cry so much about it, but I don't understand how, because the air's going to go through, you have the air box, makes no sense to me. But you know, without an aero screen, that bit of metal goes straight, hits a driver's helmet. You know, that there, at say they were on the straight, they're hitting 190, 98, I think it was roughly peaking out at. Miles per hour, kilometres, I can't do that, whatever. You know, that's like almost getting a bullet shot at your head. It's going to knock you out, unless you've got some really good strong padding in your helmet and you're used to getting whacked by whatever. But that could knock you out, and that would cause a big crash. Now, that's where I do see the safety concern. As with the wing, I feel like if it did break off, it was just going to go whoosh up into the air, flutter around, come to the ground, and you'd have been able to see it coming down or whatever and avoid it. You know, I don't think that was the biggest issue. Carbon fibre, obviously, if it does land everywhere, wave a red flag. You know, we all love red flags, clean it up, especially on a high-speed circuit. But duct tape, I have one question to ask you. Did the wing come off?
No.
So did it work?
Yes.
Well, there we go.
There we go.
End of conversation.
So, yeah.
It worked.
Moved on to his teammate Pierre Gasly.
Unreal.
Best qualifying performance this year from him, best race performance.
100%.
We love Pierre Gasly here in the channel. He's one of our favourites, and it was just quality. Just sum up just his weekend in a couple of words, just if you can, because it was that good.
In a couple of words? Well, I'll just do it in a couple of short sentences.
Yeah, go for it.
Practice was miffy. He was sort of midfield. He did put in a couple of good laps, to be fair. Come qualifying, solid performance once again. Quite average, I suppose, as for solid, but quite average. And then in the race, I don't know what happened. He was just on fire. At one point he was P4, and obviously Hamilton and they all got past him, which was a bit unfortunate because I thought he was going to hold Hamilton to a degree. But no, overall, solid performance for the pretend Frenchman.
And Sebastian Vettel had a very impressive flick spin during the race.
Class.
Just what did you make of that?
It was elegant, beautiful. Experience teaches you that. Well, experience of coming off at that track teaches you that. He's done that a few times, most definitely, in his career. That was just so perfect. Goes to overtake Ocon. He actually could have broke so much earlier because he was already past Ocon. Ocon would have had to have yielded the place anyway. Because if he had just... But even at the point where he decided then to turn off, if he had just let go, he actually would have had enough to take himself around. He would have been nip and tuck with a barrier or the wall, but he would have made it through just based on the angle he was at, just as he was about to come off the brakes to hit the exit road or the safety road, or whatever you want to call it. He did have enough to turn out back onto the track. So instead of doing that elegant spin, just went forward, slowed it down a wee bit, straight round and straight out onto the track. Obviously I had to wait for Yuki Tsunoda to come past, which was close enough, shall I say.
Yeah.
It was waiting, and Tsunoda was like, oh, there's Vettel, I'm just going to cut him off right as he's trying to come out. But no, he managed to salvage back to it wasn't P6, it was P8, wasn't it? Yeah, because he was down then in 12th, I think it was, after that, or 13th even. But no, solid performance from Sebastian. It was P6?
P6.
Yeah, that there to me, that was driver of the day for me. No doubt. I had said driver of the day, Vettel. It was given to Hamilton, probably for enduring that much bouncing and finishing in P4 behind George Russell. Also, credit to him. He was classed as a Williams poster boy, Mercedes poster boy, and now I would even go as far as saying Mercedes a top driver.
Yeah,
Hamilton's
this season definitely, performances wise, for sure.
We thought,
Right, Ryan, predictions time.
Woo!
You actually had a fairly decent weekend in Azerbaijan. It was 16 points to me, 10 points to you going into the race. I only got 1 point, but you got 3 points, so you've clawed, you've clawed the gap a little bit. But we'll start off with pole position. Who do you think is going to get that for Canada?
Canada. Oh no, what's going to happen? It's not him. Don't rate him. It's not Lance Stroll. He's not winning. He's not even going to finish his own race. He's going to spin out in lap 37.
So why is it
what
not
a
this
random guess. Definitely not the other Canadian. No Canadians. Maybe a French Canadian. We might see maybe a French man, not a French Canadian.
Jacques Villeneuve making a sharp return.
A French man of no, it's not Pierre either. Esteban. No, it's not Esteban either. This is long straights once again. I think you could guess who I'm going to guess for here. Who do you think?
Verstappen?
Yeah. The simple reason I think he's going to be more fluid. Or fluid. Yeah, I suppose. You could use that. Like water. Smooth. Nice smooth. Or a cup of hot chocolate. Now that's smooth.
I'm going to go for Charles Leclerc just to change it up a bit. Do the opposite of you. Usually it's worked so far this season.
Yeah.
I was considering Perez, but
I don't think he's gonna. Nah.
Yeah, I feel like Leclerc, he's a lot to make up after a disappointing weekend.
That, yeah.
So, your race winner?
Will we see fumbles? Will we see fumbles from Red Bull? It's possible.
Question.
How about you actually put down your race winner? Because you always have to go the opposite of me. So let's see who you would like to go for once. Let's see this.
Leclerc.
So you're gonna stick with him?
Mm-hmm.
I'll stick with my guns too, Verstappen.
That throws you into the realms of picking Verstappen. We're not competitive at all. These predictions definitely aren't made up on the spot.
And definitely aren't looked at 10 minutes before the podcast. Yeah. Apart from one race, Monaco, I did look at them while the race was happening because I was dead on with one of my predictions. I can't even remember what it was now, but I was 100% on.
I mean, it usually happens for me. It's going into the final 5 laps, and if I feel like, I've guessed that, I do have a look at it and go, oh, I've got this many points. So, yeah. Podium. Who's joining Verstappen?
It's definitely Perez. He's up there somewhere, whether it's in third or second. Do we see more Ferrari unreliability with their power? No, they won't. They have to take a new power unit for Leclerc. So yes,
that throws the question. I put him in pole.
Yeah.
If he tops qualifying, are we giving that as pole? Because he's not going to win. But I've already made predictions, so I have to stand by that.
Yeah, because they've said that the engine's completely.
Yeah.
He will be taking a new engine. But I'm pretty sure it's not official.
Enough for the season, it might not be a.
There won't be a penalty.
No.
Because you get your first engine, your second engine. It's your third engine, I think, is your penalty. And then obviously afterwards.
If he's fastest in qualifying and claims pole position before penalties, I'll take the point. But I don't have much faith over the race winner anymore.
If he is fastest in qualifying and he takes a new engine and he gets knocked back to wherever he gets knocked back, I'll give it.
Unless it's Verstappen, then we have the argument.
No, I'll give it because he was the faster man on the day. That's just how qualifying was qualifying. That's how it would work. It doesn't matter where you're starting because that's where you qualified.
Yeah.
So I would give you the point. To go back to podium, I don't want to stick Mr. Consistent in there because I think they're going to have too much problem with the porpoising. He's not going to be able to focus. You know where I'm going with this.
Yeah, so I'm going to put him in mine.
Yeah. Oh no, I was going to go different.
Okay, you were going to go for a Ferrari then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Guess who I'm sticking in there?
Well, I'm going to go for Sainz.
Yeah.
Leclerc's too obvious.
I think even though he's going to have a new engine, I think this new engine's going to have a problem. Well, he might not take the new engine if they can manage to salvage whatever problem it was. I think it has to have been something to do with oil pressure or something because you seen the smoke coming out the back and it did not look healthy. And it was a bit blue, which is usually oil or turbo problems. So, yeah, I think they can salvage it depending on what the exact issue is, but I can see him taking a new engine this upcoming race. So, yeah, that's good.
So we podium there is Verstappen, Perez, Sainz.
Yep.
Or
Verstappen, Sainz, Perez. It just depends.
Yeah, but your race winner is going to be Verstappen.
Oh, yeah.
I predict that. I've obviously predicted Leclerc, which looks less likely. Now you've mentioned the potential
Faster
penalty.
engine, they might knock the downforce off a bit and
True.
increase the top speed. You never know.
You've seen bigger shocks, but I'm going to put Verstappen and Russell join on the podium. Fastest lap, I'll get mine out of the way straight away. It's the usual, Lando Norris.
Yeah, you're carrying that on.
Yeah.
You did get it right one time.
Yeah, Monaco,
Yeah.
But
I had to actually remind you that you got it.
I was in that much shock.
No, he didn't.
I was in that much shock.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
Fastest lap overall, I think Perez. I think he's gonna get bored sitting in second and do what he did at this race. You know, take the fastest lap, gain as many points as he can.
Yeah. Safety cars. You actually got this correct with 2 VSCs, but we say it every podcast.
I agreed. If it is a safety car going in, if VSC going into a safety car, it is one because it goes into one another, and then VSC separately are a safety car.
Yeah.
It's general rule of
one
thumb.
for the end of season debate if needed.
Well, we're not going to really go back that far.
No,
We'll
no.
document now, so we'll just go.
Yeah.
That's the rule of thumb now. We've set the rules.
Yeah.
That's sort of what it is.
Yeah.
Safety cars. I'm only going to say for the race. I'm going through Canada in my mind because I've been playing the F1 game again recently. Oh, I'm only going to say one.
Okay.
I'm only going to say one.
I'm going to go 3 because I think I'm actually going to, for an extra point, I'm going to put Latifi, Magnussen and Zhou hit the world champions.
I would change Magnussen to MSC.
Ooh.
If I was to do the same as you. Are we doing this for extra bonus points?
If you want.
So my one safety car is going to be because of Mick Schumacher in the world
Okay.
champions.
MSC.
And now we do the
infamous wild card.
wild card, and I have it all set up ready to go.
Mhm.
We love this.
So random number between 199, which is decide the closest driver number, and I'll make a prediction on the top of my head based on that.
So what number do you think it's going to come out at?
33.
So we click it once, click it twice, click it 3 times, and we get our number 76. And
77 Bottas.
Yeah. 77 Bottas. We always seem to be getting high. We always seem to have high numbers. Whatever's up with that.
I'm gonna go Bottas. Top. Is top 8 too much of a stretch for, or top 7?
I would give top 7.
Okay.
Yeah, because he has had a couple of good strong
Yeah.
performances. I'd give top 7 as a wild card.
Okay.
Top 8's just a wee bit
Yeah.
too
Too
close
much.
to it. Top 7, I'd give top 7. Right, my turn. 1, 2, they're all high. 3, and... Oh no, that can't happen. 78. No, we can't. I can't have the same prediction.
No.
That is.
What should
I
be
would
20?
say who would be next, but then you've got Kubica. Kubica to take FP1.
I mean,
Free practice.
if Hamilton is struggling enough and they want Bottas to return to Mercedes.
Yeah, I'm pretty. Actually, no, he would turn that down. Why would he want to sit in a bouncy car?
True.
You know, especially when they booted him out. What?
But then Kubica comes in and
Kubica.
takes the Alfa Romeo seat. It is possible.
Kubica in the BMW takes the championship. Right, we'll click it one more time. 81. Okay, now where does that leave me? 81. It still leaves me closer to Valtteri Bottas. Are you joking?
I'll spin it again.
Right, we're just going to spin it until we get a different number. 74. Can we change it? 37. You said, did you say 37?
I said 33.
Right, so 37. Closest to 37 is, well, he's not here anymore, is Sergei Stratkin. 37. Is Max Verstappen 33 closer? Yeah, than 44. 5 difference to there. Yeah, Verstappen's closer.
Okay.
So Max Verstappen. Oh, but then that defeats the purpose of doing all that. Ah.
Yeah, I feel like it needs to be a non-main like driver.
A non-main prediction that we've
Yeah.
already done. See, you got away with it because you got Bottas.
Yeah.
Oh, come on, 71 again. 5. Who's 5?
Vettel.
Right, Vettel. Vettel top 8.
Top 8, okay.
Now that's fair.
That's fair. Cause
Now that's very fair.
Yeah.
You know, you get top 6 out of merit, to be fair now. So
Yeah.
top 8. I'd even let that slide if you guessed that.
Yeah, so that's our predictions for the Canadian Grand Prix. Any final thoughts, Ryan, before we end this podcast?
Well, I can't remember what I said last time. Now, if I did change my mind, because I explained it the last time and I'm explaining it again, I kept saying Zhou no go, but then originally it was actually go Zhou go. So that has now become the debate.
I think it was a go Zhou go.
Yeah,
which didn't
so
happen.
yeah, he did DNF. So this time, and I want you to write it down this
yes.
time, even though it has nothing to do with the points, it just
No.
needs satisfaction that I've said it. This race is going to be a go Zhou go. He will finish the race. He will finish the race.
So yeah, Ryan, thank you again for joining me for this podcast, and thank you to everyone who's been listening or watching. This is the first podcast of the season we're actually in the same room. You might not believe it, but we actually are. Yeah, so don't know how many of these there'll be, probably very few, because it's hectic summer of sport and motorsport and life in general, so there might be a few more like this. If not, it'll be the usual format, split screen format, which is always fun to do as well, but great to do this one in person. So as I said, thank you to everyone for watching, listening on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts, and we'll hope you join us in the next one for the Canadian Grand Prix. Goodbye.